I'm going to shoot from the hip with another shaky hand video today. I want to tell you a story about a song that almost never happened. Now, some of you may have heard this song called Jacksonville Kid, but there's an interesting story that, I learned behind this song that most fans have never heard before. Now, I'm reluctant to play this off of YouTube because I don't want to get hit by YouTube with another copyright violation. So I'm showing you the song. Go listen to it for yourself. Ronnie Van Zant changed the lyrics of one of the songs on Street Survivors. I think it's Honky Tonk Nighttime Man that he changed to Jacksonville Kid. And this is the story about that change. Now, I knew Tom Dowd. This is one of my pictures of Tom Dowd with Evelyn Stone in the middle, and that's Wild Bill Pickney of the Drifters on the left there. This was at a Jesse Stone party in Orlando, Florida. This is me and Artimus at his house in Crescent Beach, Florida. This photo was taken by Charles Odom, who was the hired photographer for MCA Records for the album release signing of Street Survivors October 17th, 1977 at the Altamont Springs Mall down in Central Florida. Charles Odom wanted to see Artimus, and I drove him and myself up to Crescent Beach where Artimus was having some shows and needed some sound system work done. So I worked on the sound system at the club so that they sounded better, and did some mixing and photography and video and other stuff, probably recorded the shows and whatnot, which I'm sitting on all the recordings. But me and Artimus are in his backyard looking out over the Intracoastal Waterway, watching the boats go by and dolphins and whatever else we were doing on that day. And I was credited on this album, Artimus Pyle Band, Live from Planet Earth. If any of you have heard that before, the photographs that were in this album, most of them were mine. And I was credited right here on the album very clearly. And Artimus wrote this on one of my albums years ago. He said, "Let's write a book." I wish we could still do that. But you notice how he put a, above Ed King, no Ed King. There's a whole story behind that too. I'll save that for another time. But I got to know Ron O'Brien at MCA Records. He's the engineer that put out a lot of the reissues. And I did my best to try and help him so that he could do his best on recovering, unreleased recordings from out of the vaults of MCA Records, and to get it all mastered and released and whatnot, And I tried to help him, and I got in trouble for it. Ron O'Brien got in trouble with Al Cooper, Ed King, and Gary Rossington. I think they said something about, not getting stories correct or whatnot. But the work that Ron O'Brien did for the music of Lynyrd Skynyrd, this man deserves a pat on the back. He deserves an award. And he deserves credit for what he did, because Skynyrd fans the world over are listening to recordings that this man saved from destruction. Because there was a fire out there in 2008, I think, that destroyed a lot of Skynyrd original multi-track recordings. Are gone forever. And Ron O'Brien, thank God, got into those before they got burned up. And so we are hearing the benefits of it. If you ever listen to Lynyrd Skynyrd's box set with almost an hour of unreleased material on it, that's Ron O'Brien. If you listen to Four Walls of Rayford on the original Legends album, where Alan, Gary, and Billy and Leon went down to Criteria and stomped all over that music, that's what they released on Legends. Ron O'Brien fixed that. He took the original tapes and put it back to the original speed and gave us Four Walls of Rayford on the box set with just Ronnie Van Zant and Jeff Carlisi as Ronnie wanted it to be. So Ron O'Brien deserves a huge bunch of credit for the work that he did for Lynyrd Skynyrd. And anyways, I tried helping him, but I only made it to one Skynyrd album, and then I got blackballed by Gary from any further albums. I should have been on about 5, maybe 6 of the reissues, but I got blackballed right off of them. But anyways, I knew Ron O'Brien and his story, and another man's story that I'm going to bring to your attention First of all, this is the reissue that he did with MCA Records of the Second Helping album. And if you go down to the bottom down here, you can see reissue thanks to Betsy and Jimmy Johnson, Leon Tillis, Reed Hunick, these guys. And then there's me, Kent Griffith, Michael O'Hara, and other people, that all tried to help contribute to putting out, great albums. And this is me and Tom Dowd, my hero. This is myself and Jerry Wexler and Panama Francis, a session drummer for Atlantic Records at another party. I knew Jerry too. He was not my hero. That's another story. This is a photograph taken of myself and Tom Dowd at another party and venue down in Orlando. And in my hands right there is the brand new One More from the Road that was mixed by Kevin Elson. And in this picture, I'm telling Tom Dowd about it, and he is not too pleased. If you can see the look on Tom Dowd's face, I had no idea the can of worms I was opening right there, because he was never informed and never asked, and somebody else remixed his album without even talking to him about it. And he was pissed off, let me tell you. But that's not what this story is about. That's other unknown rock history that's to come. What I want to get to is this song, Jacksonville Kid. Now, what Ron O'Brien told me was that when he was digging through the boxes in the archives of MCA Records, he pulled out the multi-tracks and he put them on the multi-track players out there at Universal MCA Studios. He told me that no one knew about Jacksonville Kid. It was not logged on any paperwork. The record company had no idea they even had this track. Ron O'Brien said it was by a miracle that he even found this track. He said he was sitting in the control room out there and he was playing these tapes. And while he was playing the tapes, he was making notes and doing other stuff, not paying attention. And he said the tape went silent and he did not hit the stop button. And he went about doing other stuff in the control room. And he said towards the end of one particular master tape, this is a 24-track analog master tape, probably one of the ones that burned up in 2008. But he said this song jumped out at him through the speakers, and he was stunned to hear this song with different lyrics on it. And that's how Ron O'Brien discovered this unknown track called Jacksonville Kid. He just happened to let the tape recorder continue playing until the end of the tape, and that's where this recording was found. No one knew about it, and it just jumped out at him. It shocked him. So that's how it was found. Now, I went to Tom Dowd later on, and I asked Tom Dowd, I said, what's the story, man, behind this? And he said, and this is from Tom Dowd now, he said that when they recorded the Street Survivors album, most of you know that it was started down in Miami with assistant engineers and Tom Dowd, overseeing it, but the band didn't like the recording that was coming out of Street Survivors, and so they spent about $75,000 down there in Criteria, and they tossed all of that. They didn't want to use it, so they went up to Doraville, Georgia, where they started re-recording the Street Survivor stuff using different engineers. And Kevin Elson was a part of that. Rodney Mills was one of the engineers at Doraville that was a part of that. Tom Dowd sent an assistant that I can't remember his name right now, but Tom Dowd was not present at Doraville because he was in Canada working with Rod Stewart doing something, so he could not be present for the re-recording of the Street Survivors material. But when it came time to do the overdubs and finish up the album, Tom Dowd said that he and the tapes went out to California, and Ronnie Van Zant himself went out to California all by himself, and Tom was not aware himself that Ronnie had done this. Nobody was aware of it. Nobody in the family. I don't think Ronnie told his wife. If he did, we've never heard from Judy about it. None of the band members knew that Ronnie had recorded that track, and it was totally in secret. Ronnie did this in secret. And so he must have gotten an engineer when the overdubs were being done. Tom Dowd said they were laying the horns on Street Survivors out there in California. And Ronnie must have taken an opportunity to get an engineer to do what's known as a bounce track, where they take all the music tracks of the 24 and they bounce it over, identical to the album, but not the vocal track. Ronnie left that one blank, and then he laid a new vocal track over top of that song. And this is what Ron O'Brien accidentally discovered out there at MCA Universal Studios when he was putting together, these Skynyrd reissue albums. So it's unknown rock history right there, Jacksonville Kid. And I wish I could play the song, but I don't want a copyright violation from YouTube.